G'day all. It's a bit of an addendum to the last vid with the, well, previous vid with the twin thumper setup. Here I am going at it again. Everything's up to just come up to temp. That's the first thumper's sitting on about 85. I've disconnected the probe that goes into the head of the gooseneck there, and I'm just running this still manually, which means basically I put on another probe which is just basically reading room temperature, and I set so that's the perceived temperature there, which is 14 degrees room temperature at the moment, and I've set it to 90, and then basically I just tweak it manually with the power settings. That's from about the point that it starts taking 4 shots. I switch it off and I just start running it manually. So we're taking 4 shots off there. The second thumper is about 72 degrees centigrade. What's that? Just over 160 Fahrenheit. So yeah, it's shot time. And the shots. This time, the thing's been running very slowly, like I normally do with any still. Oh, come on. Where are we? The shots are coming out nice and clear, just like I want them to. I haven't got any colour tainting or anything like that being smeared over through the thumpers. In fact, I've only just turned these two elements up to 55% of full power. Most of the warm-up they were sitting on 50, all of the warm-up they were sitting on 50, but I'm just going completely the other direction from what I did last time, just to make sure I get a nice clean run this time, and just prove the system. So I'll come back a bit further on and show you. I'll just keep this video nice and brief. Well, just taking my 2 jars of 4 shots off, taking a jar of heads out of there, or the first jar of heads in there now. You can see they're coming out clear. Well, actually the cool thing is that that black hose, I replaced the other one I had in there, which was actually crimped down in the feed inside the chiller, so I wasn't getting a very good circulation. So I've replaced it with that black hose, which is quite a hard industrial hose. As you can see from the outside of the jar here, the liquor is coming out of the condenser quite chilled. Got a huge amount of condensation on the outside of that flake stand. So there's a massive, excuse me, that's quite the side of it, massive improvement. That's the second jar of shots. That's the first one. And what I was originally going to say was, there's no smearing or anything in them like there was last time. It's because I run it quite gently, like I normally do. We do these stupid things sometimes, don't we? So it's all coming out crystal clear. Got a nice little trickle coming out there. I might step it up a little bit, not too much, not being greedy. I'll just try and get a little bit more pace out of it. I'm going to be here until the wee small hours, and we'll come back after I've got my first couple of lots of heads and swapped over to the hearts, or thereabouts. I do it by just by taste nowadays. It's a little bit hillbilly and a little bit backwards, but I find that's the best way. I get to the point where the alcohol doesn't have that stringent, heady kind of attributes smeared through it, and then I just swap over and start collecting hearts, or the body of it, and then again I just keep tasting that, and at some point I'll call quits on the collection and start collecting tails. And it's got the parrot rigged up there now, and that first take on the heads jar first heads jar coming off is about, that's going to focus, about 76% ABV coming off there. And at the moment the first thumper from the still is sitting on about 86, 87 degrees, and the second one in here next to the flake stand is sitting on about 82, 83 thereabouts. Now I've swapped over to my jug there, got to through the second Hearts jar, and it started tasting pretty good. It stayed 76% alcohol by volume for both those jars, and it's still sitting on that right now. Now it's filled this jug up. I've just been put a mark there. I'm trying to keep track of where it changes from 76 and starts dropping. So we're up to about here now on that jar. Constant nice stream of alcohol coming through there. It's a fairly rough wash, but it tastes really nice and smooth, and quite strong. And there was one thing I hadn't considered on this, which I've realised while I've been pottering around this evening, is that this bugger is running so efficiently since I found that crimp line and changed that crimp feeder from the chiller. You can see all the condensation on here. You see the condensation right on the outlet tube, and even a little bit of condensation on the parrot itself. And earlier, all these jars were coming out with condensation on them. I realised, bloody hell, that liquor's coming out really cold. So I took my thermometer out of here, popped it in the parrot, and bugger me if it's not sitting on 5-6 degrees centigrade. Which means my alchemeter here is not running true. Now, just like brewing hydrometers, an alchemeter is a hydrometer. It's a spirit and trails hydrometer. It's a special kind of hydrometer. They're calibrated, and most of them, including mine, are calibrated to run at 20 degrees centigrade. Now, when you put one of these devices into alcohol that is warmer than 20 degrees, it gives a false reading, an over-reading. And when you put it into cold alcohol or cold alcohol water solution, it gives a negative reading, like underreads. So there's a corrections chart, and pretty much for every 5 degrees either way, on this particular hydrometer, you add another % alcohol or subtract another % alcohol. So basically, in this case, with this guy sitting in alcohol water that's sitting at about 5 degrees centigrade, we get to add about another 5% onto what the reading is. So it's reading at 76 now, 76 percent ABV. It's actually should be, with the correction, if it was sitting in there at 20 degrees centigrade, it should be sitting at up around 81. So the alcohol coming out of here is actually 81% alcohol by volume. Yeah, just as a testament to the efficiency of this thing. Sitting on about 83, 84 degrees centigrade, about 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So she's around 83 degrees in here. Starts ripping around that coil, and by the time it gets to here, 6 degrees. That's pretty bloody efficient. I quite like that. For an old chiller I got for next to nothing, and my old flake stand that I've salvaged from 4 or 5 years ago, that's quite a neat little combo there. We're still climbing along into this cowboy here. It's a little slower than I'd like, but I'm kind of loath to turn it up now, given my last experience. The second thumper nearest the flake stand is sitting rock solid on about 82 degrees in the head of it, and the furthest thumper opening of the still around 88, 89 there at the moment, degrees centigrade. So this is going to be the last jar. I'm just about to shut this down. I'm only down to about 65% ABV though, but I've got a number of reasons I'm going to shut it down. If you can hear that. That's the thumper. It sounds like it's going to puke over up in here, but I don't know. I've got no sight glasses on my thumper, so I can't tell what the liquid level in there is. I'm just dropping the temperature back on the controller, just so it keeps some kind of liquid coming through this while I break the seals on the 2 knuckle joints I need to. And the next one we do is that guy. And now I'll just flick the elements off. So there's nothing driving them at all, and that'll all come to a nice gentle rest. Yeah, so the reasons I shut it down, I got to 65% ABV, which is actually probably a lower ABV than that. The chiller is not keeping up with the tail end of the run, so the alcohol coming out of the end of the air is tepid, which means I've got the opposite end of the scale from what I had when I started out. The alcohol was chilled, and it was giving me a reading underestimating how much alcohol was in there. Now it's overestimating with the Spirit and Trails hydrometer, alchemy. I didn't know whether this guy was going to puke over, and I'm buggered. I need to go and get some sleep. You can probably hear that rooster crowing outside just before. That's just going daylight now, and I've been here all night, which is stupid. First 2 jars of 4 shots, which were, I guess, just for cleaning and stuff. They were down into the heads, though. I took more 4 shots than I needed to, as I usually do. I've got the first 2 jars of heads there. They were sitting at around 76 degrees, although, as explained earlier, the chiller was going healthily then, and the alcohol was coming out around 5 or 6 degrees. So those were probably up more around 81 degrees, 81% ABV. Then we swapped over to this guy here, and he sat on 76% ABV right up to here. Slowly fell back a bit to 72 over the space of that. And then the jars that I started taking off from that point went 72, 71, 70, 69. These were within 1 ABV. 68, and then it dropped to 65. And I imagine after that it's going to start tanking fairly quickly, like the last run where I had the stuff, the colour carry over from running it too hard. But at the very end, the tails started dropping 5 ABV per jar, per quart jar. I've actually run out of jars. I don't have anything more to collect. other stuff in, and it got to the point where it's starting to taste tailsy. So it's time to shut it down, cut it off. And again, I need some sleep. Well, that worked better than the last one. We got some nice clean, clear alcohol out of there. And so that double carboy setup really does work pretty well. So I just got to work out some way of speeding it up without scorching or carrying over sort of tainted colour into the liquor. So I'll work that one out and share that one with you at some stage. Happy distilling.